The human concept of heaven or an afterlife has existed for as long as humans have had the ability to write, carving their beliefs into stone to preserve what they believed mattered most. But across human history, there has been different imagined paradises, and some with very strange beliefs. From endless feasts to golden cities to realms where warriors fight and die every day. Today, we are going to be exploring some of the weirdest versions of heaven ever believed. Coming from a Christian background, I'll occasionally compare these beliefs to the version of heaven most people are aware of in Western society. Let's begin with the Norse. While Christianity for the most part describes two destinations in the afterlife, heaven or hell, with purgatory included in some traditions, the Norse believed in multiple realms of the dead. The most famous is Valhalla, Odin's Great Hall in Asgard. Here, warriors chosen by the Valkyries feast and fight every day in preparation for Ragnarok, also known as the Twilight of the Gods. But Valhalla was not the only destination. Another realm was Volkvanir, ruled by the goddess Freya. Half of those slain in battle were believed to go there instead of Valhalla, described as a place with beautiful meadows where warriors could rest peacefully. It was also believed that women who did not fight in battle were welcomed to Freya's realm. Then there's Helm, the realm ruled by Hel, daughter of Loki. Unlike the fiery torment often described in the Christian conception of hell, Helm was described as a cold, gloomy land of the dead. It wasn't necessarily a place of punishment, but rather a continuation of existence where those who died ordinary deaths through sickness, old age, or circumstances outside of battle were welcomed. Also those who broke any sacred oaths. Finally, there's Rand's realm, the place where those who drowned at sea were welcomed. They say it was a place eerie below the waves, yet those who drowned were believed to eat there and celebrate together, cared for within the halls of the sea gods. The Buddhist realms. Another fascinating interpretation of heaven comes from Buddhism, where paradise is not necessarily permanent. One of the highest states of existence is the Deva realm, inhabited by celestial beings who experience immense pleasure, long lifespans, and great power. But unlike the Christian idea of heaven being eternal, the Deva realm is temporarily. Once the good karma that has caused one to be born is used up, they are reborn into another realm, often a lower one. Within the cycle of existence known as samsara, there are 6 realms a soul can inhabit. The human realm, which we currently live, is a uniquely important one because it offers the best chance in enlightenment. Good or bad, you know it very well. The Rajura realm is inhabited by those with wholesome karma, but they had ego, jealousy, and pride that ate at them in their lives in which they couldn't let go. The animal realm represents existence by instinct, fear, and ignorance alone. The hungry ghost realm, consumed by endless desire and greed. These are the spirits who are forever hungry and unsatisfied, symbolizing the torment and addiction they had in their lives. Lastly, there is the Narakara, a temporary hell that is a punishment for those with the worst karma, similar to the Christian idea of hell, but temporary. But the ultimate goal of Buddhism is nirvana, a state of being where all things escape the cycle of rebirth entirely. The flower world. Coming from Mesoamerica, this ancient Mayan belief, often described as the flower world, is a divine realm where the gods, ancestors, and the sun reside. It was imagined as a landscape filled with flowers, birds, and radiant light. Unlike Christianity, which often emphasizes preserving the individual self in heaven, the Mayan belief sometimes describes the soul in paradise as merging into nature itself. Rather than existing as the same person forever, the soul becomes part of the greater natural world. Entry into this paradise was often described not just by morality, but also how somebody died. Warriors killed in battle, those sacrificed to the gods, women who died in childbirth, or those struck by lightning or drowned were often believed to receive special passage into paradise. Zoroastrian heaven, the best existence. In the ancient Persian religion of Zoroastrianism, heaven was also known as Vishta Ayu, meaning the best existence. Entry into this paradise depended on a living accordance to the simple but powerful principle: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Those who lived righteously would cross the Shavat bridge, which separated the living world from the afterlife. For the righteous, the bridge would widen, allowing them to safely into the passage. For the wicked, it would narrow into a blade, causing them to fall into the realm of punishment known as Dazaka. The Aztec afterlife. The Aztecs' view on the afterlife was very different from Christianity. Instead of a moral belief determining where you went, your manner of death decided your fate. One paradise was Fululucan, a lush watery realm ruled by the god Fuluk. Those who died from lightning strikes, drownings, or water-related diseases were believed to go here. Another was Toachian, the House of the Sun. This radiant realm in the eastern sky was reserved for warriors who died in battle or as sacrificial offerings to the gods. Women who died in childbirth were also honored as fallen warriors and allowed to join them. Then there was a realm for children who died young, who were allowed to lay under a giant tree that dripped milk to nourish them until they were reborn. Meanwhile, then there is the people who went to Michelin, the underworld. The souls had to journey through 9 dangerous layers over the course of 4 years before their final rest to reincarnate. Penglai, the Island of Immortals. In Chinese mythology, paradise sometimes take the form of a mythical island called Penglai, said to lie behind the eastern seas. Penglai was described as a land where palaces were made of gold, and the silver and jewels grew on the trees, and eternal youth was granted to those who lived there. There was no winter, no aging, and no death. And in some Japanese versions of the same legend, the realm is inhabited not by humans, but mythical beings similar to fairies, untouched by the knowledge of evil. To reach this realm, one had to cultivate spiritual energy through meditation and align themselves with the Tao, transcending the mortal realm. Ancient Egyptian heaven, the Field of Reeds. Another fascinating version of heaven comes from ancient Egypt. Unlike many heavens that focus purely on rest or pleasure, the Egyptian paradise looks surprisingly similar to life on Earth, just perfected. But getting there, not as easy. After death, the soul will travel to the Hall of Judgment, where the heart will be deceased, placed and weighed against the feather of Miet, the goddess of truth and justice. The heart was believed to hold the record of everything a person has done in their life. If the heart was heavier than the feather, meaning the person had lived dishonestly or immorally, it would be devoured by the monstrous creature Ammit, destroying the soul forever. But if the heart balanced perfectly with the feather, the soul was judged pure. Only then they may enter the Field of Reeds. This paradise was imagined as a perfect version of Egypt itself, where golden wheat stretched endlessly, rivers flowed with clean water, and the land was always fertile and peaceful. The dead would farm, harvest, sail boats, and live with their families, continuing the same life they had known on Earth, but without sickness, famine, or suffering. Interestingly, this heaven would still include work. The Egyptians believed that the afterlife would include labor, require it to avoid endless farming duties. Many people were buried with small servant statues, which were believed to magically perform the work for them in the afterlife. In the Field of Reeds, life did not become something completely new. Instead, it's what life on Earth was always meant to be: balanced, peaceful, and eternal in some people's eyes. Looking across the different versions of heaven, something interesting begins to appear. Each version of paradise has values of the culture that imagined it. For the North, life was harsh, violent, and uncertain. Survival depended on strength and bravery, so their heaven became a warrior's dream. An endless hall of battle, feasting, and honor where courage was rewarded above all else. In ancient Egypt, society revolved around order, balance, agriculture around the Isle. So, paradise never was about escaping from the work, but a perfected version of life itself. The fields were fertile, the waters calm, and justice demanded whether you deserved to live there or not. In Buddhism, the focus was never on the eternal reward, but escaping suffering entirely. Even heaven was temporary, another stop in the endless cycle of rebirth. For the Aztecs and the Mesopotamian societies, they believed that when someone died, that the way they died mattered more than the way they lived. Their afterlife reflected a world where sacrifice, war, and the force of nature shaped all of existence. And in Chinese mythology, the dream of the Penglai reflects something different again, an escape from morality itself, eternal youth, and spiritual enlightenment in harmony with the universe. Each one reveals something about the people who believed in it, their fears, their struggles, their hopes for what life should be. But maybe that's just part of what heaven always has been. Not just the promise of what happens after we die, but a mirror of what humans believe in that makes life meaningful in the first place. A warrior wants armor, a farmer wants fertile land, a philosopher wants enlightenment. And every civilization has its own way to find that. An imagined paradise where the deepest values of their world were finally fulfilled. Which raises an interesting question. If someone 1,000 years from now looked at our ideas of heaven, what would they say it reveals about us?